Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juice, and today I am very excited to speak with the owner of Feral Gamers Incorporated. Had the privilege of uh, being introduced to him thanks to Con Plus 3 this year, which was a really cool fundraiser. You can still go check out their YouTube on Pair of Geeks. But enough of that. Enough about me. Let's get into this. So, Jay, feel free to introduce yourself, talk about your company, maybe how you got started.
Okay, so I'm Jay. I'm basically the sole purpose person behind Feral Gamers Inc. So I sort of do all the layout and the writing and stuff. I do get freelancers coming in and all artists. I can't draw to save my life, so I have to get artists coming in, and I can't really write to save my life either. So sometimes I have to get freelance writers coming in as well. But yeah, so I basically am the kind of the man, the brains behind the whole thing. We started in 2015 with a few free games which we gave away on drive-through, which went really well. The first edition of Delve, a few others came out on drive-through, and they were pretty rubbish, really. But since then, we've kind of improved, and we do. Well, I hope we make better games now than we did then. They're definitely better laid out, and they're actually real PDFs now, which is nice. So basically, I do most. I do a lot of the things, but the ideas are all mine, so you can blame me for that.
I heard your I'm sure your games aren't rubbish. I'm sure they're pretty good. But I heard, and I haven't played them. I'm not familiar with them. However, I have heard that Ghost Ops is a really cool game. Can you elaborate on that game and when that came out and what it's about?
Ghost Ops was an idea that I had whilst playing computer games, actually. I tend to get a lot of my ideas when we were watching films, playing computer games, reading books, or sitting on the toilet. So
The best ideas come from the toilet. I'm just saying.
they do. It's one of the best ideas. And that's a tip for anybody out there who's an aspiring RPG designer. Spend more time with the toilet. Can't lose. This is probably why an awful lot. I reckon that's why during COVID all them toilet rolls went, because a lot of them were aspiring RPG designers. But basically, so Ghost Ops. Ghost Ops was sort of kickstarted in 2017, but I got the idea whilst playing computer games because I was playing Ghost Recon Wildlands at the time, and I was thinking, I was playing it and enjoying it because I've always liked the concept of AI characters and stuff and people in the group and all them sort of synchronized shots and stuff. And I've always loved that aspect of Ghost Recon. And I was playing and thinking, this actually makes quite a good idea for a role-playing game because you've got the perfect team set up. You've got the four team members, each with their own kind of specialized little bits and pieces. You get your sniper and you got your assault guy and stuff. And I'm thinking, why hasn't this ever been done as a role-playing game, right?
Right.
Because it would make perfect sense because you've got your party, right, straight away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I thought, So I thought, well, I'll look into it and think, start working on how I do it. Now, and the main problem with it was not so much the whole getting the source material, because the source material was really available everywhere. You can watch YouTube videos about it. I bought a load of books on sort of special operations and stuff and all that sort of kind of stuff, and even computer games, right? And the main problem I found was how was I going to get a system that worked pretty well as something that was kind of a tense sort of shooter. And the trouble with a lot of role-playing games is that combat can be a little bit kind of either drags on or becomes a little bit to-ing, throwing, right? I'm hitting you, I'm hitting. And D&D's one of the culprits of this in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's just sit there whack-a-mole. Hit, get hit. Yep.
And so I thought, well, how can I get around that? And at the time, I'd been looking at sort of simpler systems, and obviously this Powered by the Apocalypse and so forth and so on. But their systems are a little bit more geared toward the narrative rather than the action. So I was looking at Fate and Fudge, and that's kind of where I went. I kind of thought I'd get a kind of a Fudge mechanic because I quite like the idea of a dice because it was a simple thing. You roll 4 dice, and it told you exactly what you needed to know. And it wasn't a load of we'll do this and roll that and do this and do that. Do you know what I mean? It was basically very simple, and it made it very quick, which is why I chose the Fudge dice. And once I'd got the system down, and I remember anguishing about the system for weeks. Once I got the system down, I kind of knew where I was headed. Everything kind of slotted into place. So we did the Kickstarter, which went really well. We funded twice in one day, actually.
Wow.
We funded completely in 3 hours. And then somebody mentioned the fact that the pricing of the posters was wrong.
Mm.
And at this point, we'd already funded, right? So I said, right, in that case, I'm scrapping the whole thing and I'm starting again. And I knew it would be a risk. So I scrapped the whole thing, cancelled the whole Kickstarter after funding, right? And rebuilt the Kickstarter page, because you can't just reopen it. You have to rebuild it. So I rebuilt the whole Kickstarter page from scratch in half an hour and then relaunched it, right? Which was really lucky that Kickstarter even allowed me to do that, right?
Yeah.
Normally they take 5 days and stuff. And it was a risk. And I knew that if I could either lose all the backers or I could lose for time or I could lose lots of things. But they allowed me to open it straight away. And with another 3 hours, we'd funded again.
Wow. What about the original backers? Were they cool with that? Did they appreciate it?
I mean, a lot of them appreciate the fact that I was honest about it and I was willing to risk to make sure. And I've always been like this. I've always been willing to risk everything in order to get the backers the best deal possible.
Yeah.
And I think it builds up trust between yourself and your backers and your community, really. I don't like using the word fans. It sounds egotistical. So I tend to refer to everybody as my community, because it is a community for me. We've got a huge Facebook group and they all work together. A lot of them are ex-vets. A lot of them are actually serving military. Some are intelligence officers. They're all different people, and a lot of them are civilians, right? So they're all working together, sharing stuff. So it is a community more than anything else. But, it went really well. And since then, Ghost Ops has sold, sold really well. I mean, it's now, I think it's close to getting gold at the moment on drive-through.
Oh, wow. How many units do you think you've sold? I
know that we've gone over 1,000.
That's impressive.
Well over 1,000. For somebody who's not really known in the industry, that's pretty good. And we've never had a negative review of it. We've had a few people try to negative reviews, but from their reviews, they've obviously not read it. And I'm very, because I'm a one-person sort of band, if you like, I tend to get very precious about things. Yeah. And it's very hard for me not to, because I spend an awful lot of time doing it. And the money I make feeds my family. Do you know what I mean? So when they attack my game, they kind of attack me. And I know it's ridiculous.
Well, just remember, they probably had someone who either ran it for them very poorly, or they had a bad group of players, or they just couldn't comprehend, the brilliance that was in the book.
But no, it's gone really, really well. The community is really flourishing. They're all very good people. They do a lot of battle reports. I have a Discord where there's even a play by Discord going on at the moment, where they're playing over Discord and stuff. They play every day, and it's been really positive and it's been really good. And Ghost Ops, and I think it's because it is unique, it is different, and it is something that people who play Call of Duty or play Ghost Recon and will kind of want to sort of take that to the table. Yeah. And actually do. And then the back of the original Ghost Ops, the first Ghost Ops we did a skirmish game as well for it. I'm not too sure if anybody really uses that or not. So that's something we're going to be sort of removing, really. But it's kind of, it's been very, very popular. I'm very pleased with it, and I love it. I think the game's awesome, and we are going to be doing the second edition, or I'm going to be doing the second edition, which is going to polish up some of the things that people have kind of said, use some of the home rules that people have sort of done. So the community is going to be involved in the making of the game.
That's cool.
And we've got a load of advisors and stuff, people who are going to help us out and advise us on things, and it's going to be hopefully a lot better game. But a lot of the old stuff is still going to be compatible with it, so you still be able to play the stuff you've got already with the new rules. So you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to suddenly think, I've just bought all this stuff and now, that case it will be completely compatible.
Do you have a due date or an expectation on when that might be seeing the light of day?
Well, there's going to be a Kickstarter in September for it.
That's coming up quick.
Yeah, exactly.
How big's the core book going to be?
About 250 pages. But it's going to be a different size, because the one we've got is at the moment it's like 6x9, so it's like a pocket sort of size, if you like, a digest size. But we're going to make this kind of a full size game. But I'm also thinking about doing a digest size as well. So you can choose one or the other. So I know some people like the digest because they can stick in your pocket, or they can stick them in a bag and they don't weigh anything. So there will be a kind of a choice between a digest or a full size.
Is that going to come in a hardcover or softcover or both?
Um, for the digest, I'm probably going to go soft cover because I think the digest work better as soft covers, whereas the full size will be a hardcover. Right?
Nice. Yeah, I prefer hardcovers. I grew up on Palladium books, and most of their books are soft cover.
Right.
And unfortunately, it doesn't sit well on a bookshelf because if you pull one out, they all want to fall over.
Yeah.
So hardcover is always nice.
I think with larger books, it has to be a hardcover for me. I don't like larger books and a soft cover. I'd always go for the hardcover option. But with smaller digests, it doesn't matter so much because they tend to not fall over as much, and they tend to fit.
It's your travel copy.
Yeah,
so it sounds like a Rainbow Six game, and it's kind of funny. One of my favorite video games in the last 10, 15 years was Battlefield, which it sounds perfect for that too. Like in that you had to work together. If you don't work together and you don't have certain roles filled, you're probably going to get smoked on the map. Luckily, you can switch your role mid-game, if you've died. Like you have the medic, you have the heavy artillery, like sniper, like you said, mechanic, So are there any vehicle warfare in your game?
Well, there's vehicle rules. And you can get things like offensive and defensive driving because you're playing special operators, so you're kind of like the Delta Force type SAS type characters. So
you're infiltrating. You might need to use a Jeep or a Hummer or a tank or something.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all the vehicles are in there, and you get the drones and you get all the things that you'd expect to get. I mean, it is very much a game designed for squad going in there. Not being commanded by some major or captain or something, but because in the actual game you are an actual international covert group, so you're from all over the world, all over the country. And I mean, the original book we had I think 25 different special forces units, all taken from the real first special forces units from all over the world, from 10 different countries, I think it was. But in the new one, we're going to be having a lot more because I did some free kind of updates for it, and we and a lot of the community was saying, "Oh, you haven't got my country in there." So we'd go, "Right, what's your country's special forces?" And we'd get them to design it, and so we'd stick it in the updates. And I think since then we've had things like the Norwegian Hunter squadrons, which are all female, complete female unit. We've got the Rhodesian poacher hunters. And Rhodesian, who these are basically they're women who are trained by special forces units to go hunt poachers who are hunting things like rhinos and elephants. So these are so well-hard women who are trained to take down military trained poachers by special forces units from around the world, and they're tough as nuts. Do you know what I mean? They're really good. So
there's a few all-female forces like that in the world that I guess.
Yeah, the SRS. Which is the Special Reconnaissance Unit, which is all, which a lot of females are in. Delta Force are looking at taking females. Navy SEALs are now looking at taking females. So it's not a boys' toy. Do you know what I mean? And I made it very clear that it wasn't just blokes, blowing with guns. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
There's definitely a wide range of female activity within that as well, and that's female special forces were just as relevant.
That's cool.
The other thing we also did was use agents as well. So you could be members of the FBI, CIA, MI6.
Yeah.
So you could have investigators, you could have forensics teams, and you could actually then use your teams to not just go into like cartels and terrorist units, but you could actually hunt down serial killers, major internal terrorist groups, Unibombers and things like that, by using ex-FBI agents and CIA agents and MI6 and hackers and NSA and whoever, right?
We're going after Anonymous.
Yeah, basically, right? So it grew from that. So that was pretty cool. So
do you have rules in there for creating your own organizations or anything like that?
The new rules will have in the original rules, you were basically just a member of the ICO, which is the International Covert Operations Units. And so even though you were kind of autonomous in the sense where you could act how you wanted to, you were always a member of the ICO. So in the new rules, you have a choice because a lot of people kind of were saying, "Oh, I don't like being part of the ICO." Do you know what I mean? So in the new rules, you can be ICO or you can be a PMC, a private military contractor, which are a bit more grey area.
Yep.
You can be Black Ops,
Nice.
units. You can be actual agents. So there's a lot more choices. You can have a lot more. So things like Black Ops units would actually work for the country they work in. So they won't be international. They'll just be American or Indian or African or whatever, right? And they'll just work for that country. So you'd be a lot more kind of directed, whereas with the ICO, it was more Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so that sounds pretty cool. It sounds like something that I would play with like my uncle and stuff. My uncle was in the Navy. I originally signed up for the Marines, and I got hurt and discharged before I ever did anything. So, so I don't like run around saying, "Hey, I'm a Marine," because I don't count myself as one.
No.
But then, like, my grandpa was in the 82nd Airborne. You know, so military is like a big deal in my family.
Yeah.
But it would be fun to play something like that with at least my uncle, because he's into that kind of stuff. He's always trying to get me to play a first person shooter. He's like, whatever the new one, and he's like, you got to get this, and I'm like, I got 3 kids, I never even get access to my Xbox, and I don't play computer games. I don't have a computer that can handle it. So I'm like, I'm sorry, man.
No, definitely check it out, because it doesn't rely upon you having any military knowledge whatsoever, because of the fact how it's run. You are kind of an autonomous unit who are working on your own back. You're directed, basically. You need to go over there, and then you do what best you need to do to get that mission done. Right. And the good thing about it is, unlike a lot of games like D&D and stuff, it's not about grabbing the treasure and searching the
That's what you think. We can turn it into grabbing treasure.
You get anything. But
secure the laptop.
Yeah.
Get their special weapons.
It's more about working as a team, do you know what I mean? Which is quite important. There's no agendas in there, and you can have other missions sent in. So, you can get CIA, contacting the ICO and saying, oh, when you get this guy, we need him alive, so bring him back alive rather than dead. Right. The other thing was you could actually have dogs as well. So you could have special operations dogs and as well special forces dogs and dog handlers, which was another thing that a lot of people liked. And
that's cool. That's a big deal today.
Yeah,
like having a canine unit and stuff.
And exactly, and the rules were that like every member of the squad, the dog was just as equally as important. If the dog got lost, you go looking for the dog. You go back. You don't leave the dog behind. Right. Member of the squad.
Yep.
And the other thing is you could build safe houses. So you could have a safe house in every country, and you could expand these safe houses. So you could spend money to make a small safe house into, have a gun range in it, have a rec room, have a surveillance room, have an airport, have a dock. So you could expand your safe houses out. So you could actually build upon them and make them bigger. So you could have a safe house in every country, and these safe houses will have all your gear in it and stuff and all your equipment. And it was. It's actually quite. It's pretty cool actually. If I didn't write it, if I hadn't written it, I'd probably play it.
If I didn't write it, I would definitely be a customer. I'd definitely be part of the community. It sounds like a lot of fun. It definitely does.
Yeah.
So you had said you have written some stuff that's not necessarily military, right? Like
loads of stuff that's not military.
Yeah. So what are some of your other products you guys have worked on over there?
Okay, so I did Delve. Delve was one of the original games, but I remade it recently into a second edition, and that's kind of a fantasy game, but it's kind of like it uses a D100 mechanic. So one person described it as the bastard child of D&D and Warhammer.
Okay.
So you got a D100 mechanic, but with a kind of a D&D kind of aesthetic. So
it's still high magic then.
Yeah, but you've got the kind of you've got the leveling up as for D&D and that kind of feel to it. But with Delve, it was a little bit different because you start the game shipwrecked on an island.
Okay.
So you basically wake up on a beach. And the first thing you do is check your pockets. There's a table which you roll 3 times on to see what's in your pockets. And it's a D100 table, so it could be anything like a dead fish or a pile of sand or a knife or, a frying pan or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You'll find something in your pockets. And then you search a beach. And
that's basically like gold, man. It's like winning the lottery.
And that's basically your starting gear. And then you get to the town and you're basically on this island and you can't get off it because it's surrounded by a sort of strange mist that sends you like lost. It sends you back again, right? So the whole game is based on his island called Crag Baron. And that's been really popular. That's been massively popular as well. It's something we gave away for free during the main part of the pandemic for people.
Cool.
So people could play it, and it went very massive. It went. We were getting 3,000. I think in like a week, 2 weeks, we had 3,000 downloads of it. So it's been very, very popular, that one. And it's fun game. It's kind of written in a kind of in a very sort of.
What's the premise? So obviously you're on an island. Is the goal to get off the island, or what is the goal or the objective?
There is no goal really. I mean, at the end of the day, you basically just wander around. You're on the island. You're stuck there. What else to do? You're kind of looking around for stuff. You're dungeon delving. You're going through ruins, and there is going to be there's missions you can go on and stuff. People send you on missions. Nobody has any money because nobody makes money, right? It's an island, right. Basically of wrecked places. So everything is worked on salvage and scrap and whatever you can find. Money is kind of melted down for its metal worth rather than its value of. So
it's like a survivor game, basically.
Yeah, basically, but kind of a bit tongue-in-cheek and a bit funny.
Yeah.
Not taking it very seriously. Very simple rules, very simple character creation and stuff.
Sure. Yeah, D100 games are really easy to play, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Cool.
As long as you remember that it's 00 is actually 100.
Right. Yeah. I know, right? So I did a video on that because I was like, come on, people. I got so frustrated by people debating. I saw a blog post that was saying how to do it. And I was like, I've been playing games that use percentiles for like 20 years. We never did it the way you're saying where you add the numbers. It's a 90 plus a 10 on the single die. No, that's not 100. I'm sorry. So I did a video on it and people are like, that's not right. I'm like, whatever. Do it how you want. If you're consistent, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it still has to be 1 through 100. There's no 0. Like, come on, guys.
I know, it's mad, isn't
it? Right. So that's 2 systems you've made. How many others are?
Oh, there's quite a few actually. What's the next one? I did Hunters of the Chalice Lands, which is kind of a 5th edition / OSR game.
Okay.
So it's got a kind of, there's no skills.
Okay.
So it's got a kind of OSR thing where everything's done through the stats, but it's also got an ascending armor class.
Okay. You're trying to just confuse everybody and go backwards. That's what you're trying
to do.
Yeah.
It's got,
it doesn't use THAC0, does it?
No.
Okay, good.
It's got
we should do something right. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it has a proficiency bonus, but it's low magic.
Yeah.
Only goes up to level 10.
That's cool.
So that's been all right. That's been quite popular. It's quite a good game actually. It should be more popular than it actually is because it is a nice little game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of very kind of tribalistic. So you play as kind of barbarians, warrior type people, but there's shamans instead of wizards, and there's kind of, it's a bit more kind of, like I said, a bit more tribalistic really.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty good game. It's quite a nice little system. It's very quick and easy to use. Other than that, there's quite a few actually.
What kind of games do you like to make? Are you trying to fill something that you just aren't satisfied with, or do you just get an idea whether it's out there or not and just write it?
I think a lot of the time it's an idea I have. I look at something and I think, oh, that's not been done yet. I wouldn't mind doing that. That sounds or something that I want to improve upon, really.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just do things because they pop into my head and I need to do them. I mean, at any one time, I'll have 3 or 4 projects going because it allows me to, when I'm doing one, like at the moment, I'm working on a Black Iron, which is a dark fantasy role-playing game.
Yeah.
But in order for me to have a break from that, I have other games in the background, which allows me to take a break. So my taking a break basically is me making something else. Really.
Yep. You're always busy, but like you might be working on this for the next 2 weeks. All of a sudden, you're kind of like, it's kind of stilling out. I want to do something different. And then you jump to this project. That makes sense.
When you have that kind of mental block, you're thinking, what am I going to do now? You think, well, I need to stop doing this because I'm not going to, if I keep forcing it, it's never going to go anywhere, right?
Yep.
So in order for me to, I need to keep on working because I just enjoy doing it. So I end up doing something else instead, which is how it normally works. So the Black Iron is what I'm currently working on, which is a very dark fantasy game set in a world where the elves basically screwed everything up. The elves are evil in it. They'd already killed off the dwarfs hundreds of years earlier. The dwarfs were all dead, apparently.
Maybe.
Basically, then the elves sort of basically went onto the surface, discovered the humans, and thought, another race we can enslave. So they basically enslaved the humans. They tortured and experimented on humans because they just could. They were, when something lives that long, everything becomes pointless, right?
Yes.
They become jaded. So they started experimenting on the humans, and the humans became a slave race. And eventually the humans rebelled. They rose up secretly, creating these knights, and they took the elves out from the inside, basically, because they were all around them, and the elves always thought they were nothing. They just rose up and took them out. And the elves, in their desperation to escape the wrath of the humans, opened a dimensional gateway and basically pulled down a meteor to destroy the human armies, which was Black Iron, which crashed down and caused some sort of nuclear winter. The elves are now sort of gone, they're buggered off, run away. And all that's left is what's left of the planet, which is this sort of icy kind of, like I said, nuclear winter. So the humans are trying to survive in this, and they're still, experiencing some of the elven experimentation and the elven magic and stuff. And so you've got a group of humans who live in the last city, which is in the north, and then you have an awful lot of humans fled to below the underground to the dwarven, the abandoned dwarven strongholds and cities. So you have a lot of people living underground as well, right? And then you have this group of people called the Bloodlords, who are experiments by the elves, or even elves themselves, that were so twisted by arcane magic that they became these sort of almost godlike monsters. There's a lot of mystery to it. There's a lot of things that we don't say, which will come out in later games. But it's very dark. It's very, very dark game, very low magic, very brutal. People, I mean, it's dark in a sense where it's not just got, there's a bit of disease over here and there's people living in mud. The environment wants to kill you, basically, as well in the Black Iron. So that's coming out as a D6 game, and it's also coming out as a 5th edition setting as well.
Oh, there you go.
So it will be the darkest thing out there for D&D.
And you'll have your own classes in it for the 5e.
Yeah, there's no elves, there's no dwarfs, there's no tieflings, there's no dragonkin, there's no hobbits. Right. None of those exist in it, right? There's 3 races. There's half-elves, which basically live for a long time but are completely unable to have children. They're infertile. There's a chimera, who are basically the experimentation of the elves, who experiment sort of melding humans and animals together. And then you've got the humans, right? That's it. That's the only races in the whole game. And then you've got loads of professions. You've got scavengers, hunters, fighters, obviously, novices. The Black Fort is where the mages live. You get 3 types of mage. You've got a pyromancer, necromancer, and sorcerer. And there's the only mages. Cool.
When's that hitting Kickstarter?
That's already done Kickstarter. It's actually out this year, so it should be out in the next couple of months.
Oh, cool.
There's no orcs, there's no dragons, there's none of the typical. There's completely new monsters in it.
Sure.
So it's going to be a completely different world to what a lot of people in D&D understand and recognize.
I think people like that, though. Like a lot of people took like the Adventures of Middle Earth for 5e. They loved that. There's my friends over at Absolute Tabletop did their Dragon Grin game, which that one is high magic, but it kind of flips the narrative to being evil kind of rules now. There's also the Viking setting that came out for 5e by Lloyd Collins that's really well done. So there's some cool stuff out there that goes against like what 5e was designed for, but it's still really well done.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, and I think that's the way kind of to go really with 5e. I think it's kind of let D&D and Wizard of the Coast do what they're doing, with basically expanding and redoing a lot of their settings, and have these. I mean, a lot of people won't like it. I mean, there's no alignment in the game. Alignment's been scrapped out of it.
I'm fine with that. I don't care about alignment.
I don't like alignment. It's rubbish. There's no alignment. Everything's kind of grey. Everybody's kind of bad to each other anyway. The highest level you can get to is 12. There's no level above 12. And that's mainly because a lot of people think anything above 12 in D&D is pointless anyway.
Yeah, it just bogs it down.
Breaks, yeah. So there's a lot of things we change in the game that some people might not like, but that's just life. We don't change anything really mechanically though, so you can actually just use normal standard AD&D character sheet. But we do take the survival rules from the DM's guide quite seriously, so they're a major part of the game, rather than just something that you do whenever you go in the Underdark. So
nice.
But,
so Chance has a question.
Oh yeah.
He says, I'm very similar to you in the way that I'll take a break by switching gears. I was just curious, do you have any tips on preventing burnout?
Um,
Probably work on another project.
yeah, that's generally how I mean, I do get to the point, especially when I've got a big project, like for Black Iron, for example, you get to a point where I'll just sit here and stare at the screen. I don't know what to write, and I just can't think. It's almost like there is a block in my head. I can't get past it. And the best thing for me to do when that happens is to basically step away from that project, write something down, work on something else, play a game, watch a movie, read a book.
Yeah.
All these things will kind of revitalize that creative muscle.
Yep.
And it's so easy to become burnt out on a project, and you honestly need to have more than one thing going on at once. You really do. Otherwise, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people can sit there and write a novel, for example, of say 400 pages and not do anything else.
Yeah.
I don't.
I feel like for me, like, because I used to get burnt out quite a bit with like my channel and stuff, because I used to always try to come up with new video ideas and things like that. But I've found, especially lately, the thing that works for me is like my community. Like just asking people questions or just talking to somebody one-on-one like this sometimes will motivate me. Like right now, I'm not going to be able to get your setting with the elves out of my head. Like that's just going to be in my head for the next day or two, you know, and it'll probably inspire like campaigns that I run 3 months from now, you know? But that, like, for me, that's what it is. It's because I think I'm a creative. I like the idea of being creative, but like sometimes, because I'm not, like you've said, I know I have flaws with like writing things or coming up with stuff, but sometimes talking to someone just throws something in there that makes it all just start blooming like a flower, you know?
Yeah,
it's like the rain on my plants.
Yeah. I've started a couple of groups on Facebook. One's the homebrew group, which is a group for people who are just homebrewing stuff. They're able to talk to each other, get ideas from each other and stuff, and that's been really popular.
Yeah.
And I started another one recently called the Indie RPG Publisher Help Group, which is basically a group for people who have got past the homebrewing point and now want to look at maybe publishing, but don't really know the best way to start or how to get around it, or a bit scared of doing it because it's quite daunting.
Yeah.
And so what I've done is I'm the admin, and there's a few moderators on there, all of which have come from the same background. None of them are professionally trained. All of them have
self-taught.
Basically in the same way. They had an idea. They didn't know quite where about it. And a few of them I've met because I've kind of helped them out and stuff. With a few ideas and suggestions and stuff. And these groups are really good because they all understand where they're coming from and they all have the same problem. And if you can join something like that, that's also a good group to join because everybody knows where you're coming from, really, in that sense. Yeah. So if you have got these problems, you're not a member of one of them groups, I'd recommend joining one of those groups.
I might have to join those.
Yeah, because I'm very much a person who wants to help others, right? Mm-hmm. The amount of times I've seen a Kickstarter and it just looks like, you look at it. I've done over 12 Kickstarters now, right? Almost 14 Kickstarters.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning about it and I'm still doing it wrong probably, but I've had about 12 successful Kickstarters, maybe 2 that have been failed. But the amount of times I've seen Kickstarters where people, you look at it and you think you're just doing this wrong, you're not planning this properly. And I've contacted them and said, look, I'm happy to answer questions and help you out if you want to. I don't want anything for it. I just want people to succeed because I understand that by you succeeding, we all succeed, right?
Yeah.
If you can get a game out there, that
high tides rise all boats.
Exactly right. And the more indie RPGs out there we have, the better the community becomes because the richer it becomes, right?
Yeah.
And there's people like Wizards of the Coast, all they're doing is churning out the same stuff over and over again. They haven't actually released an original setting for a while, have they? Eberron, which was the latest one, is basically a recap of stuff.
They're kind of Wildmount and Tal'Dorei. They're kind of dabbling with the Critical Role setting that Matt Mercer made. Yeah. And they're also starting to bring the Magic the Gathering setting out a little more.
Yeah, but that's obviously
a little bit.
When I've merged with two main properties together, aren't they?
Yeah.
But the thing is, none of it's very original, and everything's kind of a bit blurry between all of it, really. And I've got a few and stuff, and it's just, and I think indie RPGs are the way forward. They're what it's kind of almost like imagine European cinema, indie films that suddenly become really popular because they're different and unique, and then Hollywood gets hold of it and thinks, "Oh, we'll make a remake," and it becomes a little bit flat.
It becomes a formula that they just follow.
Because they're trying to commercialize it. Yeah. And indies aren't about commercialization where people like this, they're trying to make the money, right?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And I think a lot of indie RPG, it's important that we get more people making games, really deep games.
Well, you can look at the video game industry. Like the video game industry, a lot of indie developers have broke ground in there that has led to some really cool stuff, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can see the same thing with tabletop RPGs, I think. The problem is because Wizards of the Coast does have such a huge market share. Like they pretty much have it on lockdown. And a lot of people don't step outside those boundaries for some reason.
No, it's not like they're scared or they can't bother to read no set of rules or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's the time investment. Like I understand in high school, a lot of people are more open to it seems like. But like it seems like as people get older and they have families, they just don't have that disposable time or sometimes income, right? So they just stick to what they know because it's easy and, you know. I wish I could quite figure it out. It's obviously a video game. You can just sit down and play it and you're in it. Like an RPG, you kind of got to spend a couple hours at least learning it before you dive in for the most part.
But the mad thing about it is there's an awful lot of great RPGs out there which are free as well, you know?
True.
I mean, I don't really count things like the OSR as being unique in a sense because they are really just D&D.
Yeah, it's reskinned old rules.
Yeah.
Streamlined.
And if you know OSR, you know the 5th edition, really, to be honest. That's it, right? And vice versa. But I think there does need to be a lot more innovative stuff out there. And I think people need to sort of, and if I can help encourage people to do that and help out with that, then I'm all for it, really.
Yeah.
I think more people should be, like that, just be more willing to sort of help out each other and be there for each other. And I do think D&D is, at the moment, seems to be having a little bit of an issue. And I think maybe a lot of people in sort of D&D are kind of losing their popularity a little bit at the moment. But
well, it's funny because they still have, like, last year was still a record year for them in sales, like, of all time. They've never sold as many copies of, like, a player's handbook as they did last year. So they're still growing among casual fans, it seems like. But the people that have been playing it since 2015, at least from the people I've talked to, most of, like, the people who are, like, more diehard are kind of, it's almost getting stale. From the people I've talked to. This year I've seen a lot more people branching out into Warhammer and Zweihander. I've seen people, like, including myself, I'm starting to look at Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Because 2nd Edition Pathfinder, to me, I like the idea of player options. Like, I like customizing and making a character. Maybe I'm making a dwarf fighter, and then next campaigns I'm going to make another dwarf fighter, but it's not going to play nearly the same. It's a completely different thing. And that's what I'm excited about with that. Compared to D&D, it's like if I'm making a dwarf fighter, it's pretty much the same as any other dwarf fighter I've made for 5e. You know?
Yeah, I think and that's something I just got. I mean, I picked up Pathfinder 2nd Edition almost as soon as it came out because I never liked Pathfinder. I liked it, but I didn't like it.
You had to look up rules, and it was like, stupid little things.
I think the interesting thing about Pathfinder is, and I don't know if you'll agree, but with D&D, when I sit down and make a character, I can pretty much do it without looking at the book.
Yes.
Right?
I can do that right now.
Pathfinder, I want to look at the book because I want to see what options I have.
Yes.
I want to investigate what I can do. And every time I make a character for Pathfinder, I'll look at it, not because the rules are complicated, because the options are so varied.
Yes. And then you're like, ooh, do I want this one or do I want this one? And you'll spend like 5 minutes actually debating which one you want within yourself.
Which one should I take for my for my race, and what features should I take for this? And
second edition's a lot better than first too, because it doesn't feel like, it feels well balanced. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, we're gonna get this feat stacking and we're gonna break the game or annoy our DM or GM.
Yeah, and I think they did it right with character creation as well. I think how they did character creation with the stats and the attributes was brilliant. It's exactly what people want these days. They want the choices. I mean, everybody, I know you can have choices, you can point spend in D&D, but how many people actually does that? They're so used to rolling 3d6 or 4d6.
I actually like rolling stats personally, but I agree about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. There's something about making your background matter with that I actually think it should be weighted. I think your background with attributes should be weighted a lot more than what it is. personally.
Exactly, yeah.
In fact, I'd be fine with them getting rid of the ancestry attribute bumps and putting that into background ancestry bumps. So now, like, you do 2 ranks in strength, so now it's +4 instead of +2. Like, I feel like that would be so much better.
Yeah. I think with Pathfinder, I enjoyed making a Pathfinder character as much as I enjoyed making a Conan 2D20 character.
Mm-hmm.
Because it kind of had the same feel that at the end of it, you kind of got what you wanted and you had an interesting story to tell, right?
Yep.
And there's not many role-playing games that do character creation in a way that it makes it fun, right? You want to spend an hour doing it. Yeah. I mean, I've never achieved it in any of my games.
Heroes Unlimited for Palladium Books, for me, that was a good character creation. I did that for a decade. I just made character after character. I have a huge folder somewhere around here that's just I tried to make like the strongest character I could. I tried to make the fastest character. Like I have all sorts of different weird characters for Heroes Unlimited I've made over the years.
That's what's good about a game. You want to make the character creation be interesting. You don't want it just to be knock it up and there's done. And because it makes the character worthless.
Yeah.
You know, because you think, it's dead, I'll knock another one up in 5 minutes. Oh, that's dead. You know what I mean?
I'm actually okay with dying though too. I'm like, he died. Okay, let's make a new character real quick.
But then you find, if you enjoyed the character creation, then why not? But I mean, if you enjoyed making the character creation, it meant something. You spent some time over it.
Yeah,
character means more, doesn't it? It has more of it lives more. It's more alive.
So, Heroic Studios Gaming asks, how many games are you working on at the moment, and what projects do you have coming up?
Okay, so at the moment I'm working on, if you classify the Black Iron as one project rather than 2, so let's call that one project just to make life simpler. I'm actually currently working on 4 projects officially, right? I'm working on Black Iron.
He's making notes about another 12.
That's what I'm saying. So officially, I'm working on.
Every day he goes to the bathroom, he makes a new project and jots a couple notes down in his phone.
So I'm working on a Black Iron for the D6 of a 5th edition version. I'm working on the Ruin, which is also 2 versions. I'm working on a solo Ghost Ops game at the moment. And I'm working on Stranded, which is the science fiction version of Delve. So I'm working on them 4 projects.
Is that like a planetary thing? Like where you get
basically you crash on a planet,
that's cool.
And
that sounds way cooler than crashing on an island. I'm just saying.
Yeah, more rules basically, and just bigger book. But they're the 4 projects I'm working on officially because they were all kickstarted, and all of them are out this year. So, and like yesterday, I had all 4 of them open, and I'm working on each of them, getting bored of one, doing the other, and then just working on each one as I can. But unofficially, I'm also working on a set of books I've designed a system called, which I'm calling the Onyx system, which are all kind of very simple system, but there's going to be 3 games for that. So there's going to be, I'm doing the League of Seekers Darkborn version, which is a kind of simplified version of another game I've already written. Grim Void, which is a sort of grim dark science fiction role-playing game set on this planet, invaded by insects. I also did a game called Big Fucking Axe, which is basically just going to be a fantasy game, where you just go, you just basically barbarians going with a big fucking axe.
I like it.
And so I'm working on those at the moment as well in the background. I don't do it very often, but because they're not desperately needed. Do you know what I mean? They're just kind of things I'm going to release into the world. But so at the moment I'm kind of working on 7, I suppose.
Nice. That's a good amount. Do you have any advice for people who want to get into this? I mean, like if someone's right here watching this stream for the first time and they're like, oh, it'd be really cool to like get my world out there or to get this system I've had an idea for. Like, where would you tell them to start? And like, what tips would you have for them?
Okay, what I would suggest would be to not get over ambitious. It's very much a case of not trying to run before you can walk. Mm-hmm. And I think there's 2 things I would say. Either do something for something that's already out. So like use one of these community sites on Drive-Thru and just knock something up. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, if you want to be taken seriously, grab a system that you really like. I'm not talking about D&D, right? Because in my opinion, D&D is a bit overdone. Mm-hmm. There's one of the games that, it's all right if you want to make some cash, but to be honest, there's an awful lot of stuff out there that's pumped out for D&D, and it's all a bit substandard. And you don't want to be part of that crowd, because I think that will dry up eventually. I would say grab a system that you kind of like, and I'd recommend something like maybe the D100 system, because it is very versatile and it's very simple, and it's not as backward of to-y and fro-y as D&D is, and it's simple as well. It's or the OSR, maybe even the OSR game, but make it your own. Change the stats around, or do something a little bit different, do something a little bit unique, something that hasn't been seen before if you can. Right. And then I would say basically try to do everything in black and white, and do it as a Word file, because you can make a Word file into a PDF, and Drive-Thru will accept those, right? So make it as a Word file, make it in black and white. If you're going to grab artwork, don't try to be over-ambitious with artwork. You don't need a great deal of artwork in a small book, right? If you're going to do a book, do a 6x9. You don't need a great deal of artwork. I've seen 6x9 books with artwork on every chapter page, and that's it. And that seemed like enough, right? If you're going to do big books, you're going to need artwork, right? And that's going to cost you tons of money. Get black and white artwork. You can pick it up on Drive-Thru, look under, go to publisher resources, stock art, look for black and white fantasy artwork and stuff. You can pick it up for pounds. You can pick it up for $1, piece of artwork for $1, right? Use that. Get yourself out there as a name. Stick it out for pay what you want, or for $1 or something, right? But, basically cut your teeth on it. Don't listen to what people have to say. People are going to hate whatever you do anyway, whoever you are. It doesn't matter what you do. Everybody's hating. Ignore people, right? Vincent Baker, right, once said to me that the best thing to do, right, is to write a game for yourself and don't care what everybody else thinks, because it's not important. Right? Write it for yourself. Write what you want to play, right? Write a game, what you want to play, grab some artwork from Drive-Thru RPG for $1. You can make a whole game in less than $20, $25.
Right. We also
need help. Speak to me or somebody else. Come to one of our Facebook pages. Jump in there. Talk to somebody. There's always somebody who's going to help you out or recommend or something. Don't ever, until you can afford it, don't bother thinking about printers. The amount of people, printers going to cost me $10,000 or $5,000.
Print on demand.
Yeah, print on demand is pretty good at the moment, and there's various places you can go to. You can go Drive-Thru, they're pretty good, especially with black and white. It's cheap. Lulu does it as well. They're pretty cheap. It's easy to knock out. People will help you with it. As I said, if you need help, pop onto one of our sites, one of our Facebook pages, ask me, ask one of the others, and they'll help you out with it. It's easy to do. Once you get the hang of it, it's simple. I picked up InDesign, which I've never used before, for my first game. One of my first games, and the reason I had to do that is because the layout person I was using basically screwed me, right? He left me with a layout that was awful, and I thought, I can't upload this. This is horrible, right? There was gaps. This was a professional layout person. I paid this guy like $1,000 to do it, right? And he walked away with it. So I ended up having to buy myself InDesign.
Right.
And I learned InDesign whilst relaying this book out.
Yeah.
And if I can do it, and I'm a moron, right? Anybody.
You're not a moron.
but the point
I can tell you don't take compliments well.
The thing is, at the end of the day, InDesign is expensive. Use Word, get your name out there, cut your teeth on it, do what you want to do. If you need help, speak to one of us on one of the groups.
Right.
But that's what we're there for. Do you know what I mean? We want to help.
So I do have a friend of the channel who's an artist who does stock art. He raises the money through Patreon, and I think he does put it up on like Drive-Thru for like $3. It's J.E. Shields. His artwork is amazing. Like, it's really good.
I think I'm using some of his artwork actually in Stranded, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Even I use stock art.
He's got nice black and white stuff. If you want to commission him for other stuff, you can. But like, save that for your cover, right? Who knows, if you put it out there and it does really well, maybe you do want to come up with like a color version or a printer one. Do a Kickstarter then, and the people who loved it, who bought it first, or pay what you want first, those people will then probably fund it because they'll want a nicer looking version.
Oh, cool. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I did Delve, when I did first edition Delve, my first game I ever made, right? I basically went onto DV. I didn't know nothing, right? I mean, I'd played role-playing games in my life, but I didn't know anything about publishing them.
Mm-hmm.
I went on DeviantArt and I looked around for all this great artwork on DeviantArt, and I messaged every single artist and said, look, I'm doing this project. It's free. I'm not going to charge anything for it.
Yeah.
Can I get permission to use your artwork? And a lot of them said, yes, just use it. As long as you credit me for it, you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I all the artwork in that was free, right?
Yeah.
Just a horrible book. But when I relaunched Stealth to second edition and I kickstarted it, which it funded, I think it funded 400% or 500% over the funding goal, right?
Oh, cool.
All the artwork in that was stock art.
Nice.
So it is, people, at the end of the day, people just want to have a nice looking book. They don't care who the artwork is really, not really. I mean, some of them sometimes do.
Right.
Use the art, but really when they look at that book, they go, oh, that's a nice piece of art. What's it? Oh, that's nice. They're not going, oh, who's that artwork by? Oh, better look in the front. No, They don't care.
Same thing with the writers, though. Yeah, people don't even look at who the writers are in half of them.
Exactly, right. They just want a book that looks nice, and stock art does that for you. And another thing what a lot of stock artists do, I don't know if JC Shields does it, but a lot of stock artists will say, yeah, we'll do a commission.
Mm-hmm.
And the commission will be a lot cheaper if you allow me then to sell it as stock art later, right?
Yes.
So you get first dibs on it in the fact that your book comes out, but once your book's out, I sell that artwork as stock art. And that makes it cheaper for them. They make some money off it. You're getting your artwork and your book and stuff, and it's all a bit unique and a bit different.
Yeah. I've talked to artists before because I'm working on, I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day. I'm working on my own setting, and I'm actually working on my own system, which is basically just kind of like a cross between Pathfinder, D&D, and then a bunch of weird like subsystems I'm throwing into it. Right now, it's just a mismatch of crap. It's not playable, but I've talked to artists, and just because I want to understand pricing, all the different options, and you're right. Like you can get like art that they've used on other things. Obviously, it's non-exclusive, but that's cheaper. You can use their stock art, which is even cheaper than that. Some of them you can commission them, but like you're saying, they want to be able to use it on other things. But if you really want to lock it down, I mean, you're talking about a few $100 for, just a small piece in a lot of cases. So it can add up pretty quick, especially if you have a bigger book.
Totally, yeah. I think the artwork for Black Iron has come to, it's in the thousands now. Cost wise. This is all original artwork, and a lot of it's kind of huge pieces, very sort of atmospheric pieces and stuff, and that came to quite a few thousand.
Right.
That's actually well into a few £1,000 now of artwork in there. But then I kickstarted it, and I can afford it, because I've kickstarted it. But yeah, as somebody who's just starting out, I would recommend keeping it simple. Keep it very simple. As long as you've got a great game,
you can do it for free. Like you can do it from anywhere from free to costing you like $8,000 to make a book.
Yeah, or more. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you look at games like Mothership, games like even games like things like Maze Rats or games like that, which are like 4 or 5, 7 pages, I think Maze Rats is, and that's Mithril. I mean, he sells that for $2.99, right? Mithril is 5,000 copies he sold. Nice. So from that $2.99 Mithril, Maze Rats he knocked up on a 7-page black and white, probably on Word, right? Because there's no artwork in it; it's all text.
Yep.
He's made at least 12 grand.
Yeah.
From a 7-page,
which now can fund his real book that he's doing next. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And he's got a big enough fan base so he can actually now do a Kickstarter and probably fund very, very well. So it's worth starting out very. A lot of people want to make that. They want to make D&D. They want to. Oh, I'm the right game is going to be D&D. I'm going to
no company's up to that level.
Yeah, and they have a team of people. Do you know what I mean? You look at their credit list. There's a team of people doing that. It's not one person.
They're funded by like the largest toy company in the world.
So yeah, I think people can be a little bit overambitious. They think it's going to be the greatest thing in the world, and the best thing to do is start it off early. The best thing to do is to join one of our groups, either the homebrew group or the indie RPG publishing group, and ask questions.
Right, but ultimately, don't listen to us. If you think it has potential to be D&D, who are we to say it doesn't? But it'll never be as big as D&D if you don't make it and then work your butt off to get it in front of people.
And for as long as D&D exists as well.
Right. I believe in my lifetime I will see other RPGs bigger than D&D at some point. I don't know when. I don't know what it's going to take, but I feel like it's going to happen. I mean, think about it. Sears is going out of business. Who would have thought 20 years ago that, stores like Kmart and Sears, Amazon's only a new thing in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Yahoo was the biggest 20 years ago. Now Google's, kicking their ass.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that during the D&D 4th edition years, I think it wasn't as big. I think there were games
Pathfinder,
maybe Pathfinder, Shadowrun, Call of Cthulhu.
Yep. But it was still, D&D was still synonymous with tabletop RPGs. You would say like D&D. What's Pathfinder? It's like D&D. You wouldn't say it's you know what I mean? You still it's like wrestling and Hulk Hogan. People today say it's what Hulk Hogan does.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And I mean that's kind of one of the problems with role playing really is the fact that it is so popular like that. And it is, I mean, there's so many great games out there that people never try because they get hooked into this D&D thing. Mm-hmm. And I always think of D&D as kind of like learning how to drive with your dad, right? Mm-hmm. You kind of learn how to drive your dad and you pick up all these bad habits. And then when you actually go to a proper driving school, they go, well, you can't do that. You go, well, that's what that's bad. You don't do that, because you've actually learned how to, I'm going to run in and steal all this gold. You can't. It's Cthulhu. He's going to come back again in a minute.
You just reminded me. So one of my biggest pet peeves, I don't know if this happens anywhere else, but in America, when people are like trying to turn out of like, say, a gas station, it's illegal as hell. And so many people do it. They'll pull out into the turn lane and sit in the turn lane. That is illegal as hell. Like, you're not supposed to do that. And I get so pissed off when people do that. And so I'll honk at them. I've had people literally try to merge from the turn lane in front of me, and I don't let them. I'm like, no, and I flip them the bird because it just annoys me so much. Like, especially when if they would have waited 5 seconds, there was a huge opening behind me, and there was nobody coming the other way. They could have easily just pulled out and done what they were supposed to. But people are so impatient.
But if you equate that to role playing, the amount of D&D players who then go into, say, a Cthulhu game or another game and try
I want to kill Cthulhu.
And in Robbie's corpse. Do you know what I mean? The amount of people who have done that, do you know what I mean, go from D&D into playing something else, and I think they can act the same way.
It's a bad habit. I actually wonder. I don't know how all these gaming companies are doing financially or anything like that, or how many copies they sell, because it's all private within their own companies. Yeah. But I feel like Call of Cthulhu has to be probably up there as maybe the second most popular IP for an RPG. I mean, I can't imagine anything else being up there with Call of Cthulhu and D&D.
I think, I mean, Cthulhu holds a kind of unique position, doesn't it? In a sense where it's kind of a unique little game. Mm-hmm. It's not horrifying in a sense of like games like Cult or anything like that, but it's kind of also got that kind of, I don't know, it's something about Cthulhu that's kind of quaint in a weird way. And I've played a lot of Cthulhu. It's like I said, it was another one that I started when it was a box set as well, second edition. So I've been playing it for donkey's years, and it was only recently I've sort of stopped playing it. I played Murder on the Orient Express, and I just didn't like it. It was just railroady, and I didn't like, which is kind of ironic, isn't it? It's kind of railroady, but not in a good way. And so I stopped playing. But a game I recently picked up, I kickstarted it. I backed it on Kickstarter. Was Cthulhu Dark. Mm-hmm. And if you ever get plans to play Cthulhu Dark, that's an awesome Cthulhu game, because
someone was talking about that in my Discord recently.
Yeah,
it's a different set of rules.
Yeah, well, how it works is that in Cthulhu Dark, you play as a normal person. You play as a servant or a hobo or whatever like that. Whereas in Cthulhu, obviously, you always play as academics and wealthy people. But and it works on a D6 system, and there's no counter sheet for it. Mm-hmm. So basically, you have a D6 for being who you are. You have a D6 for your profession, and you roll that many D6 and choose the highest number. And if you roll a 1, you barely get anything. If you roll a 6, you get everything. But players can roll against each other as well, which is kind of nice. But it's such a simple system. But Cthulhu Dark, I highly recommend Cthulhu Dark for an interesting Lovecraftian experience. I mean, I've run it in the trenches of World War One. I've run it with a modern day group of tramps or hobos who are looking for somewhere to sleep. And I went into this factory, and it was kind of like the Hellraiser box. Do you know what I mean? It was like the actual factory. This unused factory was kind of like a focal sort of force for the for Cthulhu and
Right.
all that stuff. And these hobos were kind of just walked in there to just find some shelter, and suddenly get themselves trapped in this matrix of Cthulhu-ness. And it was just brilliant because you can do anything you want with it, and there's no rules to get in the way.
Right.
It's brilliant. Yeah, very, very good. Highly recommend Cthulhu Dark.
Awesome. So we are at the 1 hour mark, so I got to go and tend to kids. But before I do so, is there anything you want to promote? I've put the link to all your products on Drive-Thru are in the description. If you click it, it brings up the search for your company. So if anyone wants to go click on that and check out any of the products, there's some really cool stuff in there. Some of the stuff we've discussed. But is there anything else you want to say or promote? Maybe your Discord or any of that?
Well, yeah, our Discord's kind of a little bit. I don't have a time to. My problem is I don't have a great deal of time to do things on Discord and stuff. So It kind of gets put to the wayside because I'm working on 7 projects. Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend those. So at the moment, until tomorrow, right, and it ends tomorrow, Ghost Ops is on Pay What You Want.
Ooh.
So if you want to check out Ghost Ops, now to do it because it's free. If you want to stick something in it, $1, whatever, right? It all helps. But it's free until tomorrow. After tomorrow, it goes back to normal price again.
What's normal price?
$10.
$10. Okay. So a lot of people will probably be watching this after the fact or listen to it on a podcast when I launch that. So $10 on Drive-Thru RPG for Ghost Ops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Delve is only $4.99, I think, at the moment. That's $4.99, so that's worth grabbing if you get a chance. Great little fantasy game. It's very, like I said, it's D100. It's very kind of D&D. Cool. I think the same thing with Hunters of the Chalice Lands, which is a 5e OSR sort of mix.
Okay.
But yeah, just if you see something on there, kind of grab it. I mean, all our games are, a lot of them are Kickstarter, all of them are kind of playable. Most of them have got 4 to 5 stars. All of them are silver or whatever the elemental thing of that is rated. But yeah, Ghost Ops is free currently at the moment, so it's worth grabbing that. Delve, if you want a dungeon game, grab that. But hey, have a look what we've got. There's plenty of stuff on there and stuff. So also, if you're looking at making an RPG, if you're looking at being something like that, we have a homebrew group on Facebook. We have
What's the name of that group?
It's called Homebrew.
Just Homebrew.
Just called Homebrew RPG. And then we have an Indie RPG Publishers support group.
Indie, I-N-D-I-E?
Yeah, Indie, I-N-D-I-E. Yeah, Indie RPG Publisher support group. Which worth checking out as well. Again, it's, if you need help with anything, you want to ask questions, that's the place to do it. I try to be on there as much as I possibly can. I've always got Facebook open, so I get notifications all the time from that. So,
nice.
So yeah, there's those free moderators who all been through the same thing. They all know exactly what's what. So yeah, just go in there, ask questions, talk to people. If you need any help, if you have any questions, I'm always open for a PM. PM me anytime. I'm always happy to chat with people, help out as best I can, recommend things, get them started or whatever. So yeah.
Go support Feral Gamers Incorporated. I also want to put this out there for my Discord. If any of you purchase those games and you want some people to play it, I'm willing to play one-shots on Friday evenings. I've got stuff scheduled for the next 2 Fridays, but after that, right now, I have open availability. So head on over to my Discord if you purchase these or are interested in playing them. And then, let's talk. Let's get something going and get some one-shots going to try these things out. I'm always open for that. So, yeah. With that, this was Master the Game. I am Juice. This was Jay from Feral Gamers Incorporated. Game on.